Hey folks, welcome to my video. Kelly in the Smith here. Today I'm going to be talking. Listen, I came prepared today, okay? I have my, what's this called? My clipboard, because I want to step up my game for you folks. Like, for real, I've been in this season of feeling that, I really need to step up my content production. So, I wrote down everything, and we're just really going to take this piece by piece today. So today I really want to talk about 5 things I've learned about spirituality. And I'd like to just place us in, contextualize. Don't people just love that word? I feel like intellectuals love that word, contextualize. But I'm going to contextualize spirituality, and the way that I'm speaking about it is not solely as an object and saying, this is spirituality, which is some great tea, by the way. This tea is amazing. It's like cinnamon, I think it's cinnamon chai or something like that. It's amazing. Anyhow, so I'm not talking about spirituality in the sense that this is spirituality. Oh, spirituality is pink, spirituality is this, is that. I'm talking about it more in the sense of where my journey has taken me and what I've learned about the journey, and also maybe looking at it and observing it in that sense as well, but mostly as a reflection and kind of a real reasoning about my spiritual journey, where it has taken me and what I've seen and all that good stuff, right? So, 5 things I've learned about spirituality. Number 1, discerned through the spirit, right? Spirituality is not a book you read. Spirituality is not some rituals you do and boom, I'm spiritual. Spirituality is not something that, it's not something you really learn. It's just that discernment of knowing that there's a higher power and having that need and that want and that yearning to access this most high and to feel some kind of like a void, right? And in my notes I wrote, it's a deep realization and awareness. And for me, I realized that when I was 5 years old, I always tell people that, and it's just like, sis, 5 years old? And I'm like, yeah, like when I was 5 years old, I was asking questions, and I think I was asking them to God, but it was like my internal dialogue, like my stream of consciousness began at 5. So I was consciously thinking things at 5 and aware of what I was thinking and processing what I was thinking at 5, right? So I remember at 5, I was asking God, like, why am I here? I would look at myself in the mirror and I'd be like, who am I? What am I supposed to do in life? Like, I would ask myself all these things, and it was just like, I didn't learn that. That wasn't something I saw. I never heard anyone say anything like that. It was just that void that the Lord just put, it was inside of me, and it's that thing where I just followed the spirit. I followed it. And, like I said, always just growing up aware, growing up that there is something out there that is beckoning me to be more like it, to be more fuller, to be more like more than what this life offers, right? And then the other thing about this discernment through the spirit that I'd say is that there are different types of spirits as well. So while I could say that I am aware that, at 5 years old, God was calling me to him. I started with my church journey. I grew up as Catholic, which I'll kind of talk about more in my other point. But I realized that there's also different types of spirits out there. And by the way, this is like decoration for my mom's birthday. This is like, what is this? This is what this is. Anyway, so there's different spirits out there, so the same spirit that beckoned me to pursue the most high when I was 5, I can't say that's the same spirit that was telling me there is no God. That is not the same spirit. So it's that thing where awareness that there are different types of spirits. Number 2, journaling is everything, okay? Journaling has saved my life. Journaling, and actually I have in my notes, it says show each of my journals, but I grabbed like 4 of them, and I have more than them. I have probably like over 10 journals, maybe like 20 something, maybe 20, yeah. But these are like a few of my journals that they've just been clutch. And through my journey, my spiritual journey, I just realized I need to be writing down things. I need to be releasing what's out there. And just think of it, right? We grow up learning that you write in context of school. You write for, education. You write when you need to take notes. And most of us hate that process. So most of us, we hate school. We don't like school. We don't like when it's done, like, we're done. Like when you see people who really like, you're reading because you want to, what's wrong with you? We say these kind of things. It's the same as writing. So imagine that you're just over here writing and you don't need to. It's your choice to say, I'm going to write. And that's when it becomes like, whatever you write through your journaling and stuff, like just taking that step to saying, I'll write is a big deal, right? Because it's like, you don't need to write, but you are writing. So there's something that is being transferred there that is unbeknownst to everyone else, unbeknownst to the world. It's known only to the Most High, and obviously to the enemy as well. But just taking that step of activating this spiritual connection with yourself, it's been very, very rewarding for me, and I'm able to go back through my journals and just see different areas of my growth, different things I've struggled with. And most times I realize that, I've been in a similar situation before and this is what helped, and I do want to, in the future, when I'm blessed with a family, I want to share my journals with my kids, especially my girls. Like, I want to give my daughters my journals and obviously read through them and make sure it's appropriate for their age, but just give them this gift to see, how the journey and how God has been faithful, like for real. Even when I was talking some crazy stuff, like I can go back to like, Lord, what? And you were listening to me saying all of this, And sometimes I journal and before I forget, so now which is kind of what I was saying. Sometimes I enter like a journal entry as Dear God. So it has brought me to now the journal journey has evolved so much to the point where I have different journals. So this is like my everyday journal. It says, be kind to yourself, because I struggle with that. But it says, be kind to yourself. So, I write my everyday stuff in this, how I'm feeling, like, dear Lord, I hate my life, like, I write it in this. And it's like, dear Lord, thank you for my life, I write it in this. This is like my prayer journal, so all my prayers go in here. And I still have the social media journal, which is, social media stuff, wanting to plan about projects and different stuff like that. So it's like, journaling is clutch. Number 3, God is love. God is love, yo. Like, for real, God is love. I'm gonna drink some tea on that. And I actually have this video I made, I think it was last year, and I said, if you can't see Christ, you're not woke. Anyway, but it led into that because I've been exposed to a lot of people who claim to be spiritual, who claim to be spiritually aware, spiritually awakened, and they completely blaspheme Christ. They completely blaspheme the Messiah. And to me, it's kind of one of those things where if someone claims to be spiritual but blasphemes Christ, that's the bell. Hold on one moment, folks. Okay, the bell just rang. Went to get something, a bit out of breath. Not really out of breath, but some heavy boxes I lifted. Shout out to my gym workout. I don't go to the gym, so I don't know why I said gym workout. Oh my gosh. I'm like really tired. So like people who claim to be spiritual, or people who claim to be spiritually awakened, hearing them blaspheme against Christ, like that my spiritual journey has brought me to realize that if someone blasphemes against Christ, they're not spiritual. And for me, I could understand, and I was at that place. Like I said, my next point is talking about my journey spiritually, where it's led me. But if someone says something like, I believe that there are different paths, I believe that it's like and that's how I used to interpret it. I believe that there's a puzzle, and each prophet, each spiritual figure that we've known in the world, they offer a piece of that puzzle. That was my way of thinking. So it's like, if someone could say something like that, I could kind of, I have empathy for that. I get that. I understand where they're coming from, because it's really that yearning. It's that kind of, like, there's a space for growth in that kind of mindset, right? But then I realize that if it's someone who just completely says, oh, I'm not even gonna, like, who says F when talking about the Most High, it's just like, you're not spiritual, right? Because it's that thing where you haven't even gone past and realized that in truth and spirit, it's not the same as what the government, it's not the same as politics, it's not the same as profit and capitalism. That is not the same, and you have to differentiate the both of them. You know, so if someone hasn't gone to that point where they've delved deeper inside of, you know, their spiritual journey, that's a clear sign of it. And like I said, if someone just blasphemes against Jesus, I'm like, no, like, you're not spiritual. And I said it in my video, if you can't see Christ, you're not woke. You're not woke. Because when you get in truth and spirit, the message of Jesus, love one another as you love yourself. Love God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your strength. Love God and love, like, that love is the message of Christ. So if you're not able to get to that potency, if you're not able to get to the center of that message, and your judgment is clouded by history, your judgment is clouded by, and history, not that history has been wrong in saying that, you know, people did use the name of the Lord in vain to conquer people in Africa, to conquer people in other countries. Not that Africa is a country, it's a continent. I know my history too. But it's not that we're saying that's wrong. It's not that I'm saying that's wrong. But if you haven't gotten to differentiate between that being a political agenda and religious propaganda versus spiritual truth, that is the problem. That is the problem. So if you can't see through that and someone claims they're spiritual, I usually am very wary of that person. Right? Next one, number 4. So number 4. Another thing I've learned about spirituality is that it's cyclic, right? It's a cycle. The world is a cycle. Oh, and everything I go up in a circle. Comment down below if you know who sings that. If you know who sings that, you know good music. Anyhow, so it's that thing where a lot of times you have to evolve and not just unlearn, but begin to relearn things that you thought you already learned. So it's kind of like you get presented with the same sets of things to allow you to build upon what you know, or to exercise what you thought you know, and to just evaluate, reflect, and give you a moment to be like, okay, what are your beliefs on this? Do you still believe this? How do you think about this? And that's how you think, but how are you? How is your behavior? How is your mind? How is your soul oriented towards this particular thing, right? And so it's cyclic. It's not a straight done deal. And so for me, with my spiritual journey, it's been one where I started off going to church on my own. I started off in the Catholic church, and I don't know why. Like I said, from 5 years old, very like, Lord, well, I didn't say Lord, but I was just like, why am I here? Like beckoning to like the higher power, like, why am I here? And then my soul just always wanted to be in the church. So I was always in the church. My family would joke around and call me Poto Leglis, which is Creole for church pillar, because I was just always in the church. When we had Way of the Cross during the Lenten season on Fridays, I was in there with the older women, you know, doing the Way of the Cross, reading the Way of the Cross. Sometimes I tried to do the rosaries and stuff like that. Like, I was just always very much wanting to feed my spirit, and my spirit always felt that need to, you know, like, be in communion with the Most High. And as I grew into that, like I said, when I became a teenager, so I went through the sacraments of Catholicism, right? And then I really understood during my confirmation, like, I really took it seriously. Like, I'm receiving the Holy Spirit. I think a lot of people, like the kids, the teenagers I remember that did their confirmation, it was just like, oh, it's lit. Like, it wasn't like it's lit spiritual. It was just like, it's lit. Like, I'm looking good. I got my nails done. I got my hair done. And everyone was just very, like, it was a big thing. And even with like First Communion, it's lit. Like, it's a party. Like, you know, no one cares. Like, well, they do, but not to the extent that, oh my gosh, like, you have finally been able to receive the communion of the bread of the last. Like, it's not like that, right? And then, so for my holy confirmation, I was just very much like, wow, like, this is a big deal. And I felt at that point I started really having a relationship with the Lord. And then as time grew by and I became a teenager, and you know, I just was like, I have some questions and no one could answer them, so I'm out. And that's when I started reading more, and that's when my eyes really opened. I would say was leaving the church for the first time was when my eyes opened, and I started doing a lot of research and just figuring stuff out for myself and being like, why is the world set up the way that it is? Why do we work so hard and we don't get any real fulfillment in life and all that stuff? Which led me to Rastafari. And I was like very, very dedicated to Rastafari. Anyone who knows me could tell you, like, they could tell you that I was Rastafari. And even now, some people in my family still call me Rasta, because it's one of those things where I think they saw in me that need to like break away and to like really like not conform to the path before me. And I think that's the part of Rasta that I'll always have with me, is that, you know, like, break away from oppression, from things that keep you bounded, you know. And so I remember even with that, I was so deep into Rastafari. Actually, I'll share that for another. If you guys want to hear my journey about Rastafari, comment down below and I'll make a separate video, or like just let me know. Maybe in due time I'll share more about that. But you know, I was so deep into it, and it's just like the more I read about it, it was just like, okay, I'm going to Haile Selassie, and I believe Haile Selassie was the second coming of Christ. But I just didn't know, like, if he was the second coming, then why was the world still the way that it was? Why didn't the rapture already happen and all of that? And then when I just started reading, I realized that Haile Selassie was Christian. And yeah, he's Orthodox Christian, which is, you know, everyone makes that a big deal that he's Orthodox Christian. The core of it is that he's still following in truth and spirit this man named Jesus. Which also brings me to the other point of realizing that, you know, this journey is cyclic. One of the reasons that I broke away from the Catholic Church and just Christianity on the whole was the knowledge that the J in the alphabet was not present during the time of Jesus. You know, that was not it was not there in the ancient text. In the Hebrew text, you don't find the word J. There's no J in that alphabet, right? So it's like, how is there no J when Jesus was around and we're calling him Jesus? That doesn't make sense. And that was my sole reason at one point for not believing in Jesus. That was like my ammunition. The J wasn't in the Bible, so how are you telling me about Jesus when the J was not in the Bible? I was like semi-Hebrew Israelite, like, you know. But then just coming back to the journey, again, with this cyclicness of the journey, I realized that, yes, the J wasn't in the Bible, but his name was Yeshua. And even the Yeshua, the way that we spell Yeshua, it's not the way that it is spelled in the Hebrew text, but it doesn't mean that the story and the truth and the spirit of it is not intact. You know, Jesus is the English name. And to me, it's one of those things where I realize that that aspect of the journey has been made clear to me. So now, if I'm convicted to not use the name Jesus, I could say Yeshua, and I am still speaking about the Most High. And it's like really something simple like that. That became a thing because of transliteration, making different copies of the Bible and translating it and all that stuff. Like, that's what brought all of this. And it was something that I had to come back to learn it. you know, because back then when I was interested in, you know, more Afrocentric ideologies, I wasn't interested in proving that Jesus was legit. I was interested in proving that no, this Western world has lied to us, you know. And like I said, it's just cyclic, you know. And after my journey with Rastafari and Afrocentric ideologies, then I went into New Age ideologies, which was crystals and incense and all these other things, and just very much believing that I was God, which is again taken from the scripture that ye are gods and we are created in the image of God, which is, it's true, but you know, when you put it into New Age context, it gets distorted and we lose the point, right? That we are created in the image of God, but on our own, we are not gods. And so after that, I kind of went into agnosticism and atheism, which is like, I was like, who cares? What? I don't know. I don't know what I believe. I don't know. Like, it was just like, whatever. Like, and honestly, that was an interesting time in my life. But at that point, I was reintroduced and had the opportunity to go back again to Jesus. And then Jesus was like, you want to try this again? And I was like, sure, I don't got a choice. You know, but it's one of those things where I say, like, it's cyclic. You know, a lot of things I thought I learned or like I was already over, I had to realize that no, I wasn't over it. And to a lot of people, like, I've had people kind of make a reference that I'm regressing in my spiritual growth because I'm going back to something I went away from. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's evolution. Like, there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing that I've done or that I will do that someone else hasn't done. So I'm saying all of this, and someone has already experienced this same journey that I have, and now they know the truth, and now they're free. You know, so yeah, it's just this journey is a cycle, and you never stop learning. And there's actually this saying I found during when I was more like in that new age era of my life, where it was like, when you find Buddha, kill him. And it's true, because it's like, once you think that you know everything and that you're secure, that's when you have to be wary, because you're not, you know. And even with being where I am right now, being a Christian, I find that even in being a Christian, there's so many ideologies of what, like, Christian doctrines that people follow that are not the same. Like, every Christian, obviously, to the core, the real Christians, let's make that differentiation. The real Christians is persons who follow the word of God, who follow the word, everything new and old. And you know, we see Jesus as the way, we see Jesus as the bridge to the Most High, right? And while that is the foundation for all true Christians, that Jesus will give us salvation and he died for us and all that stuff, it's kind of like there's other forms of it that come up as like more tradition based stuff that is not everyone believes in it, you know. And it's cyclic. For instance, like, do you worship on a Saturday? Do you worship on a Sunday? Is there a specific day to worship? Is there a specific thing you eat? Is there, you know, like tattoos, piercings? And it's one of those things where it's cyclic. You learn more about it as you learn more about God, and God lets you learn about yourself, which is a beautiful thing. Cool. So number 5. So we have officially made it to point number 5. Drum roll. Drink some tea. One thing I've learned, or like the last thing I've learned, is that it's a lonely road. The lonely road is the king. Yeah. Comment below if you know that song too. But it's a lonely road. This road to spirituality, like, well, not road to spirituality, but this spiritual journey is a lonely road. And it's lonely because you often find yourself on the outside. You often find yourself on the outskirts of everything else, and you're most of the times you're placed in an observatory position to kind of get information, get knowledge, and get spiritual food and all that stuff. And while sometimes you are in it, because either one, you're the teacher, you're the student. It's either way. It's always either way. Most of it though is that it's a lonely road. I've never felt like I fit in anywhere. I've never felt like I fit in. I've always felt like I was an outsider. And at some point it used to make me feel really bad. Especially like I think in middle schoolish, you know, when I was really becoming myself, even towards high school, I really felt like, why can't I have friends, you know? But it's just like, even in college, I felt that thing where like I just wasn't fitting anywhere. I was the person who would eat by myself, and I was okay with that, you know? And like I said, to a certain extent, I started to feel bad because I was like, is there a default? Is there something that I'm missing? Then I realized, no, like I've just been created and I am set up to not fit in, you know, and that's the journey. The journey is to realize that your fulfillment socially, every aspect, and that planking sound is the heater coming up, so yeah. But to just rely on the Most High as my source of everything, my comfort, you know, my comfort is not in my friends, my comfort is not in my social groups. It's in the Most High. And I know I've been around people, I've dated people who had so many friends and who were so empty, who had so many friends and who were hurting inside. And I got to witness that up close and realize that, okay, like it's the way to fulfillment is not by having different friend circles for your moods, you know. But it's a lonely road. But along the way, you do find a few people. Like it takes time. I realize it takes time to find, like in 5 years I made like one friend. You know, in 5 years I made one friend, and it's okay. That's like part of the journey, you know. It's not excess, it's less is more, you know. So yeah. And I think one of those things is that it's always going to be like that. It's always going to be a lonely road, but it's a fulfilling road when you're able to have spiritual knowledge and live spiritually. You know, it's not easy, but it's definitely fulfilling. It's rewarding. And I think the beautiful thing about it is that when you're fed spiritually, like you live, you don't just survive, you actually live. So in times where I face the most trying times and conflicting times, and I've been so alone and all of that stuff, like that's where my spirit has gone through a transformation, and I just evolve into something more beautiful. Like literally, it's amazing, and it's all thanks to like the Most High. Like for real, gotta give the Most High his props. The Most High is clutch, more than clutch. He's the thing that I don't even know, words cannot explain his goodness. But yeah, so we've made it officially to the end of 5 things that I learned about spirituality, and it's been a ride, people. It's been a ride with this video, but thank you guys for watching. Thank you folks for watching. If you have any recommendations, if you have any suggestions, anything that's on your mind, feel free to comment below. If you have any ideas of videos that you would enjoy seeing from me about things that I've learned about other things, I will be more than happy to do so. But thank you, and I will see you in the next video, drinking another cup of tea.